Oh my goodness. So here on Ambition, Honey and Hustle, let me just tell you, I am just jumping out of my seat because my friend Tristan Layfield, who you all may remember from season 1 when he was on, he is back on the show today. First off, just welcome to the show, Tristan.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it, Candace.
So for those that don't know, now Tristan is career coach. He like makes people and their careers like amazing. and, and so one of the things that Tristan had revealed on season 1 was that he was very soon at that time going to be leaping into entrepreneurship full time and building his business full time. And so since that time, he has made that leap. And so we thought, oh my gosh, it would be so cool to just come on and just talk about that whole experience and just being a full time entrepreneur. So the first thing I'm going to say is, Tristan, how does it feel?
It feels amazing. I'm not, and the one thing I want to say, it's amazing with the caveat of terrifying. Um, right? You're in control of everything at this point, so it's sort of nice to have that control, and also at points sort of scary.
Mhm.
Everything relies on you. So, but I will say, if you had to measure them against each other, it is much more amazing than it is terrifying.
I agree with you. I'm right there with you. So tell me a little bit about your actual leap day, like the day you made that jump.
Yeah. So it was very interesting. So my last day, I was a remote employee already. So it's not like I had a big hoopla inside of the office. But I had a lot of a lot of coworkers coming and congratulating me, IMing me. Some of them some of them that was their first time figuring out what I did outside of work. And it was also really interesting because it garnered quite a few new clients after they figured that out. So I ain't mad at it.
Right, right.
But the I signed off at 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and let me tell you that that computer that they gave me was in a box packed up by 4:45, and at the UPS store. It was over. It was done. It was time for that chapter to end. I was so excited, and I guess it was sort of like doe-eyed, right? I was looking at this like, wow, I really did it. It's really
Mhm,
happening. But it
mhm.
was an amazing day. I will remember it. I remember being really excited. I remember being fearful as well. Like, what if I fail? What if this doesn't work out? Right.
Mhm.
But I sort of just quelled those concerns. If it fails, okay. Well, what I do is I help people get jobs. I will get another job. That's
Right.
just simply what it is.
If
So
anything, you're gonna use your own superpower to help yourself.
exactly. Exactly. So I was like, at the end of the day, I'm not necessarily losing anything. This is a great opportunity for me to sort of figure out and sort of make mistakes and do have my first go at, real entrepreneurship. So,
Oh my gosh. You know what's funny? When you said when you let everybody know, and some people who didn't know were like, oh, and all of a sudden you gained a few clients out of it. Isn't that interesting?
yeah.
I think it's very interesting how when you like make this conscious decision to say, this is what I'm gonna do, like
Mhm.
despite what either other people may see or think or be afraid to do,
Mhm.
like how other people's reality starts to show up and they're like, well, wait a second, I need that, I need something.
Yep.
It's,
Yep.
it's just
Exactly.
like, oh my goodness. I found a similar experience when I had made my exit, and so many people were like, oh my gosh, either I wish I had the courage, or can you help me with so and so? Like, can we meet with this? Can we meet with that? Like that type of thing. So that's amazing. When you live and stand in your truth, the people who really need you start to show up, like for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So tell me a little bit, Tristan, about maybe um, something that you've learned since becoming a full-time entrepreneur.
I think there's two things, and I think they play off of each other. So the first one is you can't do it all yourself. Um,
Mhm.
one of the things I thought that was going to happen, and I was going to quit this job, and I was going to have all this time, and it was just going to be amazing, and I was going to be able to take on so many more clients. I was going to be able to do all these things that I wasn't able to do, and you don't realize that that actually is not what happens most of the
Not at
time.
all.
There's a lot more. There's a lot more things that come and fill up that time, right? So for me right now, I've been trying to transition and sort of move my business into a different space, but what that requires is it requires a lot of help. I'm
Mhm.
actually rebranding my business, so I have I have someone who just worked on a new logo for me. I have a web developer. I'm trying to
Mhm.
transition into the group coaching space. And I was like, okay, but that doesn't mean I can stop the services that I'm offering. So now I'm training
Right.
two contractors to come on and help me do those services, right? So
Mhm.
I really realized that, running a business versus running a side hustle is different. It takes a
Mhm.
lot more energy and effort. And that energy and effort also means that you have to bring other people on. And then the other thing is, the importance of automation. And I think that plays into the you can't do it yourself, right?
Hallelujah.
Technology is a big help. And one thing I saw somebody say on social media recently, and I can't remember who, but they were like, fully setting up the automation now is self-care for the future.
Mhm.
Right? Which is like,
Amen to that.
hello, praise him, because, you think it's not important, you don't need it now, and so you don't fully set it up. But then what happens when that moment comes when you do, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's really the biggest lesson I've learned is fully letting people in to help me where I need help, and stop
Mhm.
trying to bear the load just by myself.
Yeah, what's funny is when you talk about that whole concept of, oh, I'll have so much more time, I'll be able to do this. I recall having said that same thing.
Yeah.
Like, and literally, I think a couple weeks ago, actually, he'll remind me every once in a while. Derek, he's like, what happened to all the time that you said you were going to have? Like, it's still 6, 7 o'clock at night, and you're trying to finish this, you're trying to do that. It's like, but there's so much to do.
Yep.
But
Yep.
you're spot on though. Like having that team, having that automation, that is like that is your say. There's no way you're going to grow this thing that
Yep.
you have by just being in, okay, for a couple hours, I'm gonna try to get this done when I
Hmm.
can. I'll try to get this, I'll try to get that. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh, I'm right with you on that one. I can feel that one. So
Yeah.
now tell me, is there anything, Tristan, where it was like, besides the time, anything where you were like, this was a big expectation that I had, but then reality slapped me in the face?
Hmm.
Anything else like that?
Whew. I think the biggest thing I would say is, um, I think it still ties into the time. It's more about like I was like, these are these projects that I'm going to undertake, right? I'm gonna do these projects, and it's gonna be amazing, and this, that, and the other. And you know, thinking I have all this time, and reality has slapped me in the face that they're not able to be done, at least not now, in the moment of me being here by myself. But that's why I've been enacting a lot of things. I think the other thing was, that it was going to be a lot easier to get my financials in order than what it is.
Mhm,
That has been a reality for me too. I haven't,
mhm,
I guess the mindset of a side hustle and the mindset of entrepreneurship are two different things, and I thought they would flow a lot better together
tell me about
than
what
they
you
did,
mean.
right? So like when you're side hustling, it's like, okay, I don't need QuickBooks. I'm just gonna,
Oh
go
yeah.
ahead and do this. I don't need that, right? Okay, it's a lot of bare bones, bare minimum running. But when you are
Mhm,
in entrepreneurship, when you're an entrepreneur, a full-time entrepreneur, it's all about setting yourself up for success in the future. And I think
mhm,
I didn't realize enough of that in the beginning, right? I didn't realize how
mhm,
much I would need automation. I didn't realize how much I actually needed to fully get an accountant to help me. I didn't realize how
mhm,
much doing all of your own social media, developing all your own graphics, all that stuff, how
mhm,
much that would actually take up of your time, right?
Mhm.
And it's weird because those were things I was doing beforehand, but somehow they did change. They changed. Things
Mhm.
changed immediately, and I
Yeah.
didn't think that would happen the way that it did. I guess I thought it
And
would be a lot smoother.
you know what? And I think at least one of the perspectives that I take on some of that is, when we're in our side hustle and we've got that, mainstream of income coming in, and you're like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm doing this and make this happen. It feels good. It's this. It's having some success. It feels different when, like, you have to be spending your time on the things that make you money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yep.
I feel it every day. And it's like, okay, if it's not this, who do I call? Right?
Yep.
We've talked before, assistants and virtual who do I need to ship this to? Because you don't have that luxury of like, oh, okay, this stream is coming here. So, I can spend time making this look pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't realize how much you have to set a foundation to have security inside of your
Right.
business, right? I think that's sort of the thing when you're side hustling. You have that security because whether your side hustle fails or whether it does well, you still always have that safety net of salary, safety net of an employer. And now it's more about setting up all of those things in your own business to make sure that you're secure and have that safety net. And that means that you do have to focus on the revenue generating things, that you
Yeah.
you do have to bring other people on, that you do have to be mindful of the investments that you're going to make inside of your business to get that return on that impact, or that impact,
Absolutely.
excuse me.
Absolutely. Do you find that your attitude has changed in any way?
um I would say I am much more hyper focused on not just on what I'm currently doing. I think that's what my focus was previously when I was side hustling. It was like, what am I currently doing? What clients do I currently have? I'm much more hyper focused on the future and how to continue building this out and how to continue building a customer experience and how to continue growing the business from just services to more of a full, well-rounded career development agency, right? Um,
Mhm.
and so I think it's that hyper focus that has sort of shifted since then. I think the other
Mhm.
thing is that CEO mindset. I don't like to call myself a CEO because I think that's just way too overused. And also, I don't have a board of directors, so I am not a CEO. But but with that, I think it's like having that mindset that if I don't get up and do it, it's not going to get done. Like
Mhm.
right inside of your bit, inside of a corporate structure, if you don't get it done, somebody's probably going to pick
Go
up that
figure
slack
out
and get it done for you.
society.
It's not happening here, right? You have to get up, even on the days you don't feel like it, even in the middle of a global pandemic, even in the middle of
Right.
all of this, and you have
Yes.
to make it work. It's just simply what has to be done. And I think that
Mhm.
that mentality and that mindset of like, okay, look, I'm not feeling it this morning. How can I get myself back into it? I have to get back into it because otherwise, like I said, the work's not going to get done. So I think
Right.
those are the two main things. It's really being hyper focused on how to continue growing, developing, and then being really in the mindset of pushing yourself to get the things done that you need to get done.
Hmm. And that, what that makes me think when you talk about pushing yourself into that mindset, I think about, right now in this pandemic, there are people who are kind of like, not necessarily entrepreneurs,
Hmm.
but people who are kind of like, oh, great, I can go, I can get this unemployment, I can do this, I can do this. You better be signed up for this covers small business. Like, I have, like,
Hmm.
been in those conversations, like, with
Hmm.
people saying this to me. And the mind of, at least for me as an entrepreneur, and it sounds like you got the same thing going on, is like, no, wait a second. Like, I have to make this happen. Like, I cannot just sit and wait for something else to ensure my security, my vision, my future I
Hmm.
see. That's not
Hmm.
how this works. Like,
Yeah.
this is you have something, you go for it, you make it happen. Doesn't mean you do it individually, but you have to,
Hmm.
like, make it happen. Do you
Yeah.
ever encounter, especially at this time,
Hmm.
um, folks who are kind of like, hey, Tristan, do you question your decision of being an entrepreneur? Or, hey, Tristan, um, you don't have to worry about having money come in because blah, 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 blah. I don't know,
Mhm.
whatever.
Yeah, so I haven't necessarily encountered anybody like that, to be honest. Me and my best friend, because he runs his own business as well, we have conversations about how we're really grateful that we're able to operate during this time and still be making
Hmm.
money and all that stuff. But we also have the conversations of giving yourself grace and understanding that we're not just working from home; we're at home working during a pandemic, right? So there's a lot of
Hmm.
emotion, there's a lot of anxiety, there's a lot of just feelings that are going on, and sometimes you just got to take a moment to deal with those. Maybe it's clear your calendar for the day and then know you got to get right back into it the next day, whatever it is. That's sort of how I've been attacking, but I haven't had anybody that's sort of like been touting that over me in any fashion, right? I've just more so been using that as a gratefulness point. The one thing that I have seen a lot of people say, and it's actually more entrepreneurs that are saying this, is like, if you don't come out of this pandemic with a business, a new skill, a blah, 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 that you were wasting time and like all that. And I'm like, we got to be careful with those narratives, right? Like people deal with and grieve and figure out situations in different ways. And I like honestly, for me, I was struggling the first couple of weeks of this pandemic. I was already working from home. I was already a business, a business owner
Hmm.
at that point. I was already all those things, but it was like, whoa, my hypochondriac set in, my anxiety was high, and I just couldn't
Oh.
focus and do anything, right? And so I was beating myself up more like, Tristan, you can make money during this time, but like, it's like, well, should you even really try to sell? People are, we got 26 million people filing for unemployment, and you're trying to ask them for this amount of money and this, that. And it was like me contending with that myself rather than other people putting it on me.
Hmm. That's interesting. I think it's interesting how like just people's narratives will play out like in
Hmm.
in different ways like through this whole crisis.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
one thing that I think is for sure, you know, yay entrepreneurs, because again, one thing that I felt, and of course I had a lot of people reaching out because like we were talking before the show,
Hmm.
um, my first my last I'll put it like this, my first Monday as a
Hmm.
full-time entrepreneur was the same day that my children were home indefinitely. And I had a lot of people like, oh, is this okay? Is it okay? My husband had recently opened his bookstore, like just a couple weeks earlier, planning for like the opening party, like a few weeks down the line. So many like, oh, you guys okay? You okay? And I just remember, like, for me, I've had and still have with me like this feeling of like peace and like
Yeah.
go for it. Like people need you, keep going, right?
Hmm.
And the Lord is blessing in that way, keep going. But I think it's just so interesting how people can paint like these different narratives. But as an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, like we have the ability to do
Hmm.
whatever,
Yeah.
which I find just amazing.
Yeah, it really is. And I actually, I had hired a business coach at the beginning of the year. And one of the conversations she and I were having was at the beginning of the pandemic. Like I said, I was having a lot of issues. Like, should I be selling this? Like, what should I be doing? Like, I feel really uncomfortable with this. I know I can make money during this time, but should I be asking people for money? Like, it was just a whole ordeal. And so, she and I had a conversation, or well, it was sort of a group coaching conversation around being careful about not pushing your ideas onto your buying audience, right?
Mm.
So like for me, my concern was all these people are unemployed. Should I be asking them for this amount of money and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, well, what you do is you help people get jobs, so they need your service. And so I,
Mhm.
I was contending with that for a while. But then what happened was I had a couple of clients that came through and that were asking for things and asking for things. And they really ended up challenging my thoughts around it and showing me, okay, look, you need to be here. You provide a service that is essential right now, that people are looking
Mhm.
for, that people need. And
Totally.
so, like, once again, when we talked about like you having to get up and get it done, it was like, okay, I was planning this group coaching program out. I'm still planning it out, getting it set up. My thing was, okay,
Okay.
how do we then take this and restructure it or rebrand it? Because now we're in a space where people can't go outside and can't connect with people on a on a personal level. Well, I realized the entire program I built can happen virtually. Like actually the majority of it did happen
Mhm.
virtually. There weren't any in-person requirements at all. So it was like,
Mhm.
okay, well then this is actually very key during this time.
Mhm.
Everyone's looking for a job virtually at this point.
Mhm.
And you know, okay, you have the tactics to stand out besides applying online. Okay, well, that's going to help everybody because it's competitive right now. So it was like, okay, it was
Mhm.
me challenging my ideas and thoughts and not forcing them upon my audience or upon my potential consumers to really then be like, okay, how can I restructure? How can I pivot? And really make this an offer that's even more enticing to the people that are in the situation now, right? And so, as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, I think that's really what the job is, right? How can we
Yep.
how can we pivot to rise to the occasion, whatever that looks like for us, right? So you were just talking about your husband opening a bookstore. Well, I actually just attended a book launch on Zoom that a bookstore was supposed to host in person, and now they're hosting it online, right? So they're even
Mhm.
shifting and adjusting on how this is
Right.
happening. So I think that's really the call to action for all of us at this point is how can we pivot to serve our audience during this time?
Yeah, absolutely. Like well said, Tristan. I don't I absolutely well said because that's what we do. We're called to serve. And I just said to somebody, and I've been using this a lot lately because I think it's important. And it's a very bold statement, but I think it's important not only for other people, but it's important for me to say it.
Hmm.
And that is that helping people, for me, helping people and making money do go together.
Hmm.
They absolutely do go together. Whether
Hmm.
it is I can help you get some transformation and there is a financial exchange to it, or because of the financial exchange that has happened, I can help and serve. Either way, they go
Hmm.
together. And I think
Hmm.
sometimes, to your point about, not what you and your coach were saying about not allowing yourself to impose your ideas on other
Hmm.
people, sometimes those ideas, I understand because I've been there, and sometimes those ideas are like they're limiting for us, like
Hmm.
we're blocking other people's blessings.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Who am I to say that any of these 26 million people who are unemployed now, who are laid off or whatever the case may be, don't have a nest egg and they want to invest in themselves and actually get where they're trying to go, or that
Right.
some of them aren't trying to pivot their careers at this point in time and transition into a different field, right? Granted, we know there are the people who cannot. And it's also being aware of that and responsive to that. How can I
Yeah.
also provide free value to those people, right? While
Yeah.
also not undercutting myself. So it's like really just taking in a lot of this information and figuring out how to shift and adjust. That's really all that we
Mhm.
can do at this point in time to ensure that we stay afloat and to ensure that we're serving the audiences that we were here to serve in the first place.
Yep, I love it. I love it. So tell me, Tristan, biggest challenge, biggest reward. And you can say going forward if you want, or you can say right now, however you want to.
So currently my biggest challenge, um, my biggest challenge right now is the pivot that I'm trying to make in my business. So right now, many people know me for individual document services. When I mean by that is resume revamps and LinkedIn optimization and cover letters. Right. That's what most people know me for. I did do coaching before, but it was more of an hourly aspect for people. And so now I'm trying to pivot into this group coaching program that is more about teaching a man to fish rather than providing him with the fish, right? So
Mhm.
really teaching people how to leverage their value to transition their careers and how to build those results driven resumes and LinkedIn's, and then also how to build a network of boosters to actually get you where you're trying to go in your career. And so this pivot is really it's one of the things that I've been struggling with because you would think that most people would be like, ooh, but most people don't realize that they need to invest in their careers beyond the document. They
Mhm.
think that the resume, the first step that people go to when they're job searching usually is to update their resume. And I tell people all the time that that's like 50 to 60% down the line, right?
Mhm.
And so most people don't recognize that. And so it's sort of shifting that perspective of my audience at this point, and not even just their perspective on me, but their perspective on the job search. So then they understand why this group is here, right? I think that's been my biggest challenge at this point, because people really don't understand. It's not always the most qualified person that gets the job. It's the person that knows the most about the job search process.
Mhm.
So
Mhm. Right,
so
right.
so that's been a big challenge for me right now. That's the biggest thing I'm facing at
Mhm.
this point.
Like
Um,
you are educating people on why this is important to make this investment.
yeah, that's really it. Educating and sort of shifting the narrative of career development and sort of job searching, because everyone's in this mail and wait state, what I call mail and wait, where job searching back in the day was, you look in the classifieds, you see a business is hiring, you go to the library, you find the address to send your resume to, you send your resume off, and you sit and wait. Right, that's what it was. Then we got the internet, and somehow we still magically do that process. Right, we still literally send it off and we
Then
wait. Right, and we don't realize that in the United States, you have a less than 2% chance of landing a role from applying online.
mm,
Only 20% of
wow.
jobs are posted, or only 20% of jobs are filled through online postings. So
Mhm.
people don't know those numbers, they don't know those stats, and so they think that their job search strategy is literally getting a resume and applying online, when 80% of the jobs that you are going to want, you're going to be able to find through networking and referrals, not through
Mhm.
that. Right, so really educating people on that aspect is imperative for them to then understand why it's important for them to invest in themselves and get inside of this program to really learn how to build that network. Because we're not just
Mhm.
talking about friends and families. Those are the people that we call the obligates when it comes to your network, right? The
Yeah,
people who feel obligated to help
that's a
you,
good
but
name for it.
right, right, because those are typically people, the meeting comes up, they're canceling, and then they get a little sketchy and ghost you when it's time to reschedule. Right, we're not talking about those people. We're talking about actually getting to the people who are in the companies 1 to 2 levels above where you want to be, how to contact them appropriately, how to not get them into a transactional mindset and more into an altruistic mindset of wanting to
Mm,
help people. Right, so it's really teaching people about that, and that's been really difficult because the narrative is so strong that all you need to do is get a resume and apply online,
mm, mm,
and,
mm.
and it's not
It's
the
messing
most
people
effective
up.
way. It's messing a ton of people up, isn't that what? And what I tell people, and the problem is that it's a successful method to get a job. 100%. I will agree with you, because all of us have gotten a job that way. So we can't
Mhm.
negate that. But have any of us gotten the job we wanted that way? Is the
Mm,
question we need to ask. Right.
mhm. That's a whole different story.
It's a whole different story. Has anyone actually gotten the career they wanted out of that? And so,
Mhm.
that's sort of what my biggest challenge is now, really educating the community and shifting the narrative of what job searching should actually look like. Um,
Mhm.
Now, the other side, and you said sort of what did you say?
The
That was
biggest
my
reward for you, like
biggest
as an entrepreneur,
reward.
your business biggest reward.
My biggest reward, at least for me right now, is the process of working towards freedom is what
Mm.
right. So I think people think you start a business and you have all this freedom, and it's just you get to do whatever you want to do, and to a
Mhm.
degree that's correct. But as we just discussed, most times it's not. You got to
We
shift, you
have
got to
we got a
pivot, you
lot of
got to
stuff.
do a lot of work. You're beholden to clients, you're beholden to all these people. And so I think it's just working towards what freedom looks like to me, which shifts and changes and evolves. But the thing about
Mhm.
being an entrepreneur and not being such a big boat like the large Fortune 500s is that I'm able to shift and adjust whenever I need to. When things
Mhm.
don't work for me, they don't work for me. I can change it. I don't have to talk to
Mhm.
anybody. It's mine.
Right.
Right.
And
Um,
that, and even in that, Tristan, so like even in that type of thing, I take that as some freedom.
oh
Like,
yeah, 100%.
because you can say, like, all right, me and my talented self, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this thing over here.
Hmm.
I'm gonna go ahead and do this thing or whatever. Like you can define if you're gonna fire a client,
Yep.
if you're gonna keep them, if you're gonna do like, you got
Yep.
that going on.
And you, exactly, you get to say who you work with. You get to say when you work, right? You get to set all the stipulations around work and what that looks like for you, which is great. I think the other biggest reward for me, just personally as a career coach, are the success stories. That's just simply, you can't beat those, right? Like I
Mhm.
literally just had a client who was so worried about getting a job during this time, and we were able to land her a job at Salesforce with like
Yay! That's
yeah,
big.
with like a 45% salary increase. Like
What? Where does that happen at?
hello, right? And so like I was like, yes. Or like I had someone who came to me, we worked on a resume. She was like, I keep getting the interviews, I don't get past it. And so we did some interview prep, and I really just found out she was tempering herself. She was too scared to let her personality shine through. She thought she was too much and this, that, and the other. And so we did a lot of coaching around that, and a lot of coaching on understanding why that is the selling point and not the negative. And here we are. Literally, she applied to this job. They loved her resume so much they decided to have a phone interview with her. When they had the phone interview with her afterwards, they were like, we were so impressed by everything, we were actually going to provide an offer to someone else, but we want to interview you tomorrow.
Shut
um, and
up.
so they interviewed her, and I literally got word yesterday that they made a very generous offer to her, and
Sounds good.
want her to start June 1st. So like, you know, just seeing those type of stories and the change and transformation you're able to make as someone who does coaching, I think it's so amazing. Number one, because it reaffirms that you know what you're doing, right? You're not crazy.
Yeah.
um and that you are able to help people get where they're trying to go. And I think that's the most rewarding thing about the type of work that I do.
Mhm.
We spend a large majority of our lives at work as adults. We
Right.
might as well find the thing that we love to do and find the thing that's going to
Amen.
bring us joy in doing it. And if I can help people get there, that just makes me feel amazing.
Yeah, amen to that. Oh my gosh. I'm excited about her story.
I know my friend messaged me. She's like, I've been following this. It's like a career soap opera.
Tell her I said kudos to her and kudos to you, because that does speak to your ability to help others transform, and that is awesome. That is amazing. I am so happy that you are doing what you love to do and like helping people do this full time. That is a blessing. It is an absolute blessing.
Thank you.
So now, Tristan, if people are listening and they're like, "Oh, I want to hear a little bit more from this Tristan guy," what
Yes.
should they do?
Yes. So you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Layfield Resume. So that's Lay, F as in Frank, IELDRESUME. Or you can connect with me, Tristan Layfield, on LinkedIn. So you spell my first name Tristan. So yeah, you can connect with me there. I share out anything that I'm doing on any of those platforms, so you'll be well aware of it. As I'm gonna do a little bit of a shameless plug here. I hope you don't mind.
Please go ahead.
But if anybody is looking to really get a concrete and visible job search strategy together that helps you leverage your value to actually transition your career, I really suggest that you go follow me or sign up for my mailing list. I will be rolling out a group coaching program that will really help you build that network. I have a proven process that will help you build the network, give you the templates you need to reach out to people, and guide you through those conversations, and really teach you how to optimize your resume and LinkedIn to land that role. So if you're very interested in that, I suggest you go follow me on those platforms, because I'll be rolling it out fairly soon.
Awesome. So I'm going to say this to everybody that is listening. Now, you know everything that you have heard from Tristan. And those of you that are like, hey, I'm on the entrepreneurship track, okay,
Hmm.
you go it. But everybody knows someone who is
Hmm.
in need of taking their career, right? And if
Hmm.
9 to 5 life is for them, because for some people it is, right?
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
Need it.
Uh, Hello.
But they need help, right? So you've heard from Tristan. Like I vouch for Tristan. This is my friend. Tristan and I met on Instagram, right? Weeks and weeks of trying to put together offers and all this great stuff that we did. And truly, Tristan, I am so proud of what you are doing and what you are getting for people. And it is amazing. So I do want
Thank
to thank
you.
you for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I know my stuff was very career driven, but if entrepreneurs have any questions about this process or what's been going on, don't hesitate to reach out to me too. We can set up a call and chat for, 15, 30 minutes about what's going on.
Sounds good. So, all please take this and take action. I will make sure that Tristan's information is in the show notes at candaceppears.com. So, I hope you all have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, whenever you are listening or watching. And I'll talk to you again very, very soon.